Scorpio, you did not click on this message by accident. Your spirit dragged you here because something in your body already knows what your mind has been trying to deny. Someone within your own family field has not been standing beside you. They've been standing in your shadow, quietly pushing against your light while smiling to your face. And the truth they've tried to bury is about to rise in a way that can no longer be ignored. You've felt it in the strange distance that doesn't match the words they say, in the way a room changes temperature when you walk in the subtle tightening of your chest at certain names or gatherings you used to convince yourself were just a little awkward. Scorpio energy is forensic, surgical, born with an X-ray soul that sees through masks. Yet for a long time you tried to put what you sensed back into the dark because you wanted to believe that blood meant safety, that family meant loyalty, that love meant they would meet you where you have always been willing to go. But recently the silence hasn't felt like peace, it has felt like erasure. The conversations that used to flow have turned into dry exchanges. The support that once felt easy now comes with reluctance or not at all. Some invitations never reach you, some celebrations happen without you, and when you do show up, you can feel how some eyes avoid lingering too long on your victories. You have caught fragments of half-finished sentences when you enter a room, the quick topic changes, the small jokes that land a little too sharp and are dismissed as just teasing, the way your intuition keeps whispering, something is off, even while your mind piles on excuses and history and obligations. Scorpio, your guides are not showing you this to torment you. They are asking you to finally trust the part of you that has always been right about people, even when it hurt to admit it. Not every soul that shares your last name shares your intention for healing, and not every relative is rooting for your transformation. Some feel threatened by it because your rebirth highlights everything in them that has stayed asleep. You are the sign of death and rebirth, the one who rises again and again from what was meant to bury you. And in a family system that has survived by pretending, by hiding, by tucking pain under the rug and calling it tradition, your refusal to stay small is not neutral. It is disruptive. You are the living reminder that cycles can end, secrets can be named, and patterns can be broken, and that kind of presence is not comfortable for those who prefer the story, never change. So what do they do with a soul like yours? They roll their eyes at your sensitivity, joke about your intensity, paint you as dramatic or too emotional, or quietly withdraw warmth so that you second-guess yourself and shrink, so that your fire dims enough for them to feel tall again. Some family members attack loudly, others choose the slow poison of passive aggression, the unanswered calls, the late replies, the backhanded compliments, the invisible walls around information and opportunities. And yet, through so much of your life, you stayed. You made yourself the bridge, the protector, the one who held secrets that were never yours to carry, the one who absorbed tension so others would not explode. You told yourself, this is just how family is, and you learned to read every micro-expression, every tone, every pause, so you could keep the peace like a human shield. But your inner world has been shifting, hasn't it? Your dreams have grown louder, your body tighter when certain faces appear on your phone, your gut twisting when you think about showing up in spaces where you know your spirit is not truly welcomed. What you are feeling is not imagined. It is the vibration of truth starting to rattle the frame. In the coming weeks, a moment of clarity will land in front of you like a dropped mask, a conversation you weren't meant to overhear, a message sent to the wrong chat, a confession whispered by someone who can no longer hold what they know, or a simple, piercing realization that your soul has connected the dots. The details will be unique to you, but the feeling will be unmistakable. A sharp, clean knowing that a certain family member has been quietly against you, undermining, dismissing, or resenting you, not because you failed them, but because your evolution exposed where they refused to grow. When that truth surfaces, Your Scorpio instinct may be to confront like a storm, to demand answers, to pull every secret into the light in one blazing moment. But this time, your power will not come from an eruption. It will come from precision and stillness. You are not being called to wage war. You are being invited to stop waging war against yourself. Instead of asking, how could they do this? The deeper question becomes, why have I stayed in rooms where my spirit was never respected? This is not about abandoning love. It is about abandoning self-betrayal. Your heart has tried for so long to earn a place that should never have required proof. You carried the guilt for everyone's unspoken wounds, treated their unresolved trauma like it was your responsibility to fix, twisted yourself into shapes that did not fit, so no one would have to look at the cracks in the structure. But the universe does not keep you in dynamics that starve your soul forever. It sends friction. It sends distance. It sends the strange ache that rises in your chest when you rehearse their excuses out loud and hear how false they sound. It sends synchronicities, videos like this, songs on shuffle that talk about betrayal, dreams that replay old scenes with new clarity. It sends you back into your own body, the only home that never lied to you. Notice how your shoulders tighten when you anticipate seeing them. Notice how your stomach sinks when their name lights up your screen. Notice how exhausted you feel after leaving their space, how long it takes to come back to yourself. These are not random reactions. They are your nervous system trying to speak louder than your denial. Scorpio, there is a sacred difference between loyalty and self-abandonment. Loyalty says, I love you, and I can hold space for your humanity while honoring my own boundaries. Self-abandonment says, I will burn myself down so you never have to sit in your own darkness. You were not born to be the family's emotional dumpster, spiritual shield, or silent scapegoat every time someone refuses to face their reflection. You were born to transform the narrative, not to drown in it. And transformation sometimes looks like this. Fewer explanations, quieter exits, less availability, a slow but steady withdrawal of your energy from spaces that misused it. The explosion of truth this title speaks about is not necessarily some dramatic confrontation, though for some of you it might be. The real explosion happens within you when you finally accept what your intuition has been saying for years. They are not on your side, and you do not have to keep proving that you are on theirs. From that moment, the dynamics begin to shift. You will start to see where conversations were laced with subtle competition, where jokes about you were actually admissions of their own insecurity, where concerns about your choices were really attempts to keep you small enough to be controlled. You may feel anger, grief, disappointment, or even a wave of loneliness as illusions dissolve. Let those feelings move through you like a storm over deep water. You are a water sign, after all. You know how to hold depth without drowning. Cry if you need to. Write it out. Sit in the shower and let the water wash some of it from your skin. This is not weakness. It is detox. As the emotional fog begins to clear, you will notice something else rising underneath the hurt. A fierce, quiet self-respect that refuses to go back to sleep. You will start choosing yourself in small but radical ways, saying no to invitations that feel heavy, cutting short conversations that slide into disrespect, refusing to over-explain your boundaries to people who are committed to misunderstanding you. You will feel your energy slowly returning, not because anyone changed on the outside, but because you stopped letting them drain you from the inside. And then, something beautiful will happen. As you step back from harmful patterns, the universe will begin to send you your real soul family. These might be friends, mentors, partners, elders, or even younger souls who carry a kind of purity and honesty that makes your nervous system exhale. Around them, you won't feel the need to scan the room for danger. Around them, your laugh will come out easier. Your ideas will flow more freely. Your vulnerability will feel like a bridge instead of a risk. These are the people who celebrate your wins without making them about themselves, who ask how you are and actually listen, who do not turn your sensitivity into a weapon, but see it as the superpower it has always been. This is the kind of family your spirit has been longing for, the one built on resonance, not obligation, and as you experience that, the contrast will become undeniable. The relative who quietly stood against you may still talk, may still tell their story about who you are, may still twist your distance into proof that you are cold or ungrateful or changed. Let them. You were never put on this earth to manage other people's narratives. Your job is to live your truth so fully that their stories eventually fall flat, because your energy no longer matches the role they assigned you. You may never receive the apology your heart secretly hopes for. You may never hear them admit, "I was jealous," or "I resented your growth," or "I needed you to stay small so I wouldn't have to face my own fear." That's okay. Closure is not a performance they give you. It is a decision you make in your own chest. It sounds like this: "I see what this is now, and I bless myself enough to step away." You can love someone and still never again allow them access to the deepest parts of you. You can forgive without forgetting what your body learned in their presence. You can grieve the family you wished you had while choosing not to keep abandoning the soul you actually came here with. Scorpio, your path is not an easy one. You incarnated with the blueprint of an alchemist, the one who walks into ancestral darkness and says, "It ends with me." That role will never be understood by everyone in the bloodline, especially those who benefited from your silence. But you are not doing this alone. Your guides, ancestors who healed before you, and divine forces that know your heart have been surrounding you in the unseen, sending you feathers, repeating numbers, meaningful songs, and perfectly timed encounters that remind you, you are not crazy. You are not overreacting. You are finally hearing yourself. And as you keep choosing that inner alignment, you will notice that the explosions you once feared, fights, confrontations, accusations, rarely come. What actually happens is quieter and far more powerful. People who cannot stand in truth simply begin to fade from your daily orbit. Life reorganizes, invitations stop coming, group chats go silent, and instead of chasing, explaining, begging to be re-included, you feel a surprising sense of relief. That is your soul whispering, "We are safe now." In that new quiet, you will discover parts of yourself that never had space to breathe. The creative Scorpio who wants to build, write, love, heal. The intuitive Scorpio who trusts their visions enough to act on them. The tender Scorpio who realizes they never had to be so guarded with those who are truly for them. This is your rebirth moment, not in a cinematic blaze, but in a series of small sacred choices that add up to a life no longer built on betrayal. And as this message lands wherever it needs to in your timeline, let it be a mirror rather than a sentence. This narrative is not here to doom you to suspicion or convince you that every relative is an enemy. It is here to honor what your intuition has already been whispering and to offer one possible map through an emotional landscape many Scorpios know too well. Think of it as a story the universe placed in your path, a reflection of a potential pattern and a gentle reminder of your power to choose differently. If it resonates with your lived experience, take what soothes and strengthens you and leave the rest. If it doesn't, let it drift past like a cloud across a dark, healing sky, knowing that not every message is meant for every soul at every moment. You are the one with the final say over your life, over your boundaries, over the meaning you give to what you've survived. The real explosion is not what happens around you. It is the moment you decide in the privacy of your own heart that you will no longer betray yourself to keep the illusion of family intact, and that choice alone can change everything about the world you build from here. And as you move forward, remember that healing from this kind of hidden opposition is not linear. Some days you will feel fierce and clear. Other days, An old memory or family photo will tug at your heart and make you question everything again. When that happens, do not shame yourself for looking back. Simply remind yourself that looking back is different from going back. You can honor where you came from without returning to the version of you who had to beg for space at that table. Little by little, start creating new rituals that anchor you into the future, instead of chaining you to the past. Light a candle for your own peace, instead of for their approval. Write letters you never send, to release what your throat is tired of holding. Speak blessings over your own name the way you once wished they would. Let your home, your friendships, your work, your creativity become the new altar where loyalty finally includes you. The more you root yourself in this kind of self-respect, the less power any quiet enemy will have over your path, because their shadows cannot penetrate a life built on conscious light. Scorpio, you are not the villain in this story, and you are not the victim either. You are the turning point, the moment in the bloodline where truth stopped being buried and started being transformed. Breathe into that, stand in that, live from that, and let the rest fall away like dead leaves from a tree that has already decided to bloom again.